The fourth industrial revolution will largely be driven by technology, and we all know that technology has replaced some jobs, but at the same time, it's created new markets and job opportunities. So, what are the workforce trends needed in the fourth industrial revolution? Stay tuned. To understand the fourth industrial revolution, we need to go a little back in history. The term the fourth industrial revolution was coined by the founder of the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, at the 2016 World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. According to Schwab, the fourth industrial revolution will merge our physical, digital, and biological worlds together. The first industrial revolution in the 18th century used water and steam power to mechanize production. The second used electronic power to create mass production, while the third industrial revolution, also referred to as the digital revolution, which occurred in the second half of the 20th century, used electronics and information technology to automate production. And now a fourth industrial revolution is building on the third, the digital revolution, that has been occurring since the middle of the last century. According to experts, the difference between the digital revolution and the fourth industrial revolution is that the latter merges technology more and more with human lives, and tech changes are happening faster than ever. Hello and welcome to Voices. This is a platform where we have meaningful conversations with the aim of provoking social change and empowering millennials in Kenya to be active citizens. On set with me today to help me voice this conversation are two amazing tech-savvy gentlemen. So I think my first question will go to you, Evans. You are the CEO of Binary. It's a tech firm. Could you please in a nutshell, tell us what Binary does exactly.
We are an IT startup firm that majorly focuses on payments, but with a strong bias on fintech, transport and education. So if you look at what we do, normally we are trying to automate those three industries majorly.
Wow, great. So how long have you guys been in existence?
We started operations in 2016, so that makes it 3-4 years, something like that. Yeah, so our operation started in 2016.
Wow.
We are that young.
No, but I'm amazed that it's 4 years and you're up and running. You know, the way they say in Kenya right now, startups are dying, slow death.
It's actually global. I think majority of startups die within the first 5 years. It's global, yeah. It's not Kenya. It's not something unique to Kenya.
Oh, so in next year, are you going to clock 5 years next year or this year?
I think next year sometime November or something.
Yeah, sometime in November. But it's not technically up and running as you said. It's up, running, crawling, falling down.
And picking itself.
Yeah, all those cycles.
We are on course.
Next year, November, you're going to be throwing that party.
Let's say January 2021. If we are here by 2021, then at least we'll have overcome that curse.
Okay. I'm wishing you all the best. So let's go to you, Mungai. Do you prefer Mungai or Benson?
Any kind.
So let's go to you, Mungai. Yeah. So in your organization, what trends are you guys employing to ensure that first, even in terms of your products, they're competitive because I'm sure it's a crowded marketplace, the industry that you're in, mobile payment. Yeah. So what measures are you as a company employing to ensure you come up with competitive solutions, and also in terms of managing your employees, how are you investing in them to develop them so that they are well equipped for the job?
First of all, I would like to say the payments industry is not a crowded market. It's a very specialized market with very few players around. Well, there might be many on paper, but when you look at the standards that people are creating products with, then it's a very small market. And in terms of how we are able to penetrate and fit the gap is that we maintain a very young and agile team. Of course, we have experienced employees and team members, However, our approach is we have a program that we must have a number of interns with us every periodic time, and now from these interns, when they leave our workplace and go back to school, these are the same team that we pull back after they finish their jobs. So one is just having a fresh team on ground. Secondly is our ability, the agile. We have a very agile team, and so our delivery is fast and again very customized in regards to our product delivery. We do not stick to brick and mortar processes. So we innovate on the go because, as you said, technology changes very fast. There's a lot of research that goes on into the team, and yes, that's what makes us just go ahead there.
You raised an interesting perspective. You said the payment sector is not a crowded place. Is that what you saw, Evans, when you decided to venture into that field?
Yeah, that's probably part of it. But as you said, it's not. I'm sure the perception out here is so crowded.
Yeah.
But there's a difference between just mobile applications and actually being in payments. Because when in payments, then it's it's very regulated, number one. Because then if you're acquiring payments, then you're doing it to banks through Visa. In Kenya lately, the PesaLink, it's a little bit regulated. It's also technical. So yes, it's not as crowded as the perception out there might look like. Mobile apps, yes, but when it comes to payments, yes, and there was a gap there, as you're saying, especially from what I would call the lower tier market. By that I don't mean the banks, the circles, the MFIs, the microfinances. Yeah, the down tier, not the top bank. The top banks, of course, have been picking up for the last couple of years. But when you look at the circles and the microfinances, there's still a huge gap to be filled there.
Okay, I'm looking at it from an opportunity perspective, especially now that we are trying to empower more young people to venture into fields in technology. Do you think that provides an avenue for more people to just come in?
Not really, not really. And the reason I'm saying that is because this is not payment is not one of the startups you can start the way you're famous from your dormitory, from your garage. You could, but at the end of the day, as I told you, is can you convince a bank to partner with you to be your acquirer, for example? There are a couple of things in payment that doesn't allow just a university kid just jumping out and just joining straight away. It's much more complicated than that. So, but when you're talking about you get some experience, you understand it, then now yes, you can always fit on that.
But the good thing is that it's a market that provides so many job opportunities. Like Mungai was just saying, you work so much with young people, and so it means there are so many job opportunities that are also available, and I think we'll delve into that. But first, before we go to that, I would like to know, right now there's been a conversation about young people not being equipped with the requisite skills in our learning institutions. And to give credit at least to the government, I know this is something that they're trying to change, first with the new curriculum and the TVET trainings. But before this, because the TVETs and the new curriculum is just something that has just been introduced, you've been in the industry for the last 4 years. Have you experienced this gap? Like people come with degrees and all their papers, but they have nothing to show?
I've been in the industry for more than a decade, but in binary from 2016, so that's okay. But I've been around much longer, much longer than that.
So we can comfortably call you an IT dude in that case.
Not sure, but I've been in IT for quite a long time, and the gaps are there. And I think I listened to the DP the other day saying that being hard on universities and how they're supposed to churn out people who are ready for the market. But I don't think it's something that you can blame on the universities or the government. First and foremost, IT is a very dynamic field. It's not like the medicine, the law, where you have to actually go to school, then read and probably go to some law school and get certified. No, IT is much more different. And I would squarely lay this at the hands of those who are interested in IT, not really the curriculum. It's good to have a good curriculum for education, but at the end of the day with IT, it does much about interest, your own research, your own application, much more than the curriculum. But I'm not against having a proper curriculum that can equip the young guys, because if you look around and you have top firms in the world, the Facebooks, Apples, you get some guys breaching their network. They are not guys from university, they are 16-year-olds in their rooms. So it's much about having the interest and doing the research, because I've even had guys who have not been to university, very good developers. So yeah, as much as we need a proper curriculum that can prepare, the interest for me precedes the curriculum in terms of having the personal initiative to delve into it and train yourself and do research and apply yourself.
Do you share the same views, Mungai?
Actually, I think I partly share his views, because I think school just gives you direction. It just helps you know what you're interested in and the basics. The rest is upon you to push yourself, research, and more of self-teaching. Teach yourself, and in any particular field or topic that you're interested in. Because as he says, one of I have a couple of my best developers that are self-taught. In my previous workplaces, I had a developer who was a policeman, and then he decided to quit and start writing code, and he was really good at it. So over the 10 plus years I've been in this industry, it's more of a self-initiative. School, yes, as he says, it's good to have a good curriculum, but it's more of a self-initiative to push yourself and get out there in whatever topic that you're interested in. There are a lot of, with our today's world, where materials are available online. So it's all about equipping yourself, as much as it has a little to do with our academic institutions, but it's more of a,
Okay, I like that, and the key thing that I'm getting from this is that, and it's something that we had a previous guests who emphasized on this before, and it's the same thing that you guys are saying, the importance of just developing yourself, pushing yourself, going the extra mile. And I also like something else that you brought up, online courses. And so I've actually been wondering, there's so many online courses available right now, and like you guys said, you're working with a very agile and young team, and I'm just wondering, today if I pursued a course online, I'm not going to any college, maybe I'm a Form 4 dropout. Should I call it dropout? Not really. Let's just say
more understandable, acceptable, I think, to say that.
Okay, let's just say my academics ended as soon as I finished Form 4, and maybe either due to lack of interest, I haven't joined a college or a university, or maybe due to financial resources. But then the internet is there, and I go online, I pursue this course, and I become a software developer or something. Can I come with that certificate? Because I know online courses provide certificates to their participants. Can I come with that to your company, and you will give me a job based on that, and not based on degree or diploma from a recognized institution?
Actually, what's interesting is how we recruit. We're a team of about 25, yeah?
Wow.
Now, how we recruit is not based on, of course, there's the normal KYC, but we recruit based on what you can do and not what papers you have. So you come in there, we give you an assignment. If you can do it, regardless of whether you have a certificate or you just have nothing, we look at ability, what you can do, and not what you have in regards to papers, because you have very skilled minds out there that, wow, it was unfortunate enough that they didn't finish their fourth form or any other certificate. Yeah, so really papers for us comes.
It's a good to have. It's a good to have.
On paper.
It's good to have the
Pun
papers.
intended.
Nothing wrong against that. But it's more about the delivery, what you can do.
Yeah, the skill.
Because if you had a master's and you came and you couldn't do the job,
It doesn't
for us
count.
it doesn't count.
Yeah.
I've given jobs to guys who never cleared Form 4. Yeah, so it's really about sometimes the ability to do the job.
And I like that perspective, and I hope it's something that more sectors can actually look into, especially those jobs that basically require skills more.
Yeah.
And I think my next question will be on STEM, and I know it sounds a bit irrelevant to you guys, maybe because right now the conversation across the globe is on empowering more girls to take up courses in STEM, and STEM basically is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So you guys have been in this industry for so long, and it's largely a man-dominated industry.
Yes.
So now I'm sure you've also encountered a few girls that are there. So now when the world is talking about empowering more girls in STEM, what advice would you give to young girls who are aspiring to take up courses in this industry, or even not necessarily young girls, someone like me who is not also very young might decide, because there are no limits. So what advice do you give to women who are aspiring to take up courses in STEM from a man's perspective?
I find it quite interesting with girls and STEM. Because I would actually think that during my career, I actually think girls have the advantage of a boy. Funny enough.
In what way?
I've been recruiting and have given very few girls the opportunity. The reason being, they're not even there. And I can assure you today that even today in our firm, if I got two candidates, one was male, the other female, and I thought that they were equals, I would give the female the opportunity. But then again, we go back to what I told you. IT is very different because it's practical, it's about skill, it's about application. And as much as we go out and try to get female developers, female designers, there are very few in the market, and I don't think they know that they have that advantage where we could actually prefer to have them if they were as competent as the men, because obviously we also want a gender balanced office. But then what I always say is we won't have a gender balanced office without competence. So you have to be competent, you have to apply yourself, and the opportunities are there. And I'm not sure the reason I'm saying that it's interesting is because I don't know how you can cultivate interest, because I said with IT, even if when you hear about those Facebooks and Apples being compromised, it's always the male trying to do. There will be a certain 16-year-old boy. That's interest. And cultivating interest at that early age, I'm not sure where. I don't know that naturally where men are just more interested in IT than the ladies, because that's where it all starts. Because I know a lot of girls, because there's a big difference, and this is probably more important to note. We have ladies doing computer science, we have ladies doing IT. Doesn't equate to being an IT professional. A lot of them end up being tellers in banks, customer service, and others. So there's a big difference. It's not as simple as we are having just ladies doing computer science.
Is, what I hear you saying is the interest has to be there. You can't just plant a girl there and expect her to deliver. And I think again that it's a very valid point, very fair point. And I think again that goes to, in some way, to the culture, because we all at some point, I think we are from the same generation. We grew up at a point where there were careers that were clearly distinguished. Girls this way, boys this way.
Really? Okay. Maybe a few of them, I would think.
Yeah, and so some careers ended up looking more manly. Like if you undertook even the subjects, agriculture, ladies will frown at you like, why are you picking that? What are you gonna do with that? You know.
Yeah.
So I think, like you said, maybe it will be a bit difficult to encourage the older women like me to get into that space, but it's a culture that we can cultivate in the younger girls, so that when someone is growing up, there's this exposure, because some of these opportunities people don't know about them, and if you don't know it, then you don't have an interest. You only have an interest with the familiar. So yeah, what are your thoughts, Mungai?
I'm thinking first of all is all about the attitude of our girls. For example, in our current setting or in our previous setting, when we were young, or even now, in your house, let's not use your example, but in a household where there are girls and boys, things like it might not be IT. Let's say, for example, changing a light bulb. You'll find that there's a general assumption that the girl can do it, let the brother come and sort it out. So, as I was saying, it's more of attitude, because I have experience in my professional life and in my school life. The women or the girls that have been around were in the field or in the class just to pass, not to actually acquire the knowledge. It was more of, let me get my A and bounce. Actually, in my previous work setting, I had, I won't mention the place, but I had girls or female colleagues who had better academic qualification than I did have back then, but half the things I would do, they had no clue of what's happening, and it's basic IT. It's basic IT. So we are actually at a very bad place, because almost all the female participants in IT or professionals are there by chance, not by interest. And if it's by interest, then they're not doing enough.
So maybe just to bring what both of you are saying into perspective, you both were in the same school, right?
University, yes.
University, yes. So in your class, what was the percentage of girls compared to the men?
I wouldn't say I have a number, but probably 70-30.
The class was how many people?
Probably less than 40.
Less than 40. Yes. And the girls?
About a third, less than 10. Which is not a bad number.
So those are girls. We can't put in the same bracket with the girls who have not exposed to this industry.
Yes.
Those are girls who are exposed. They knew this career, and they even went to pursue a degree for that. So might you know if they are practicing, because it's easier for people to keep tabs?
The ones I know, no. They're in jobs, but other jobs, not IT related jobs.
Okay.
Probably the IT passion melted away after university.
And that's right there is a problem, really, because one of the things that is attributed to the gender wage gap is the fact that girls opt for the safer careers, the more polite careers, and those careers tend to have lower salary brackets compared to others. So that's I think that's a major challenge. I don't know how it's gonna be done, but well.
That's what I'm saying. It's hard to have a cure, because I met him in university, for example, and of course when you meet people in university, everybody assumes everyone is a student. Yes, I was a student, but I was still a partner in a big organization, actually, because we had started, it had grown, and he was the only one I picked from the entire class.
Wow.
Not because and not because even technically he was brilliant than the rest or anything like that, but because he had the interest. He was fearless in terms of you want me to do this, I'll figure it out by tomorrow. Things like that are what I was looking for. Not even the academics. As they say, there are a lot of we had ladies who passed the exam, but would I pick them? Not really, because, and I was there. I was in the same class, so I could actually see what they are doing. They were in it, not for the skill set, to pass the exam.
Yeah.
So very few people in that class, even including men. Don't be fooled. We even have a shortage of skills in men. It's not as simplistic as people think that only the men are equipped. Even as men, we still have a huge skill set gap to fill in IT, and basically because of the interest and the application I've been talking about.
Well, ladies, if you're watching and you're pursuing IT, please, you need to bring your A game. We need to, change this mindset and inspire more young people to take up opportunities in this field. And if you are not setting the space, then they have nowhere to walk through.
A few industry players who are ladies and they are very good at it. So I think it's all about changing attitude and just being there to do it. Yeah.
Even the wife of David Lee, she's called Mwende Gatabati. She's a top female IT.
Yeah, we have some outliers there who are doing really well.
CEO Intrasoft East Africa, Wambui Mbesa also.
Wambui?
Mbesa.
Mbesa, oh yeah.
Yeah.
CEO is good. Even Pesalink is headed by we have a couple of them. Yeah, it's headed by I can't recall the name, but
because they're equally skilled. I think it's all about just applying yourself.
Okay, now we're talking about the fourth industrial revolution, and I want us to look at various reports, including one by the World Bank and the Future of Jobs report by the World Economic Forum. And so these reports have actually alluded to the fact that there are particular jobs and skills that will be more in demand from 2019 and beyond. And some of these jobs include data analysts and scientists, software application developers, e-commerce and social media specialists, analytical skills, etc. And I would like you guys to help us analyze some of these jobs, because we are all about empowering people with information. So let's start with, and this will actually help people who want to undertake these opportunities, or even people who want to provide career guidance to either their siblings, their children. So let's start with data analyst. What exactly is this job like, and why is it relevant in today's workforce?
Very relevant, actually. Because definitely, I think it's a buzzword going around about big data. So,
what is that?
Practically sure that you guys have heard about that big one. So just making sense out of data, because what happens is you find a lot of organizations with sitting on a lot of data, which to them actually means nothing. Because why? Because they have not analyzed it. And as much as I think that it's still young in our industry, I'm talking about probably Kenya, Africa. Obviously, the likes of Google and Facebook are way advanced. Globally, there are a lot of advancements in that. But locally, I still think that it's picking up slowly, but something that I would encourage anyone to look at, because at the end of the day, probably the same way we're saying that nothing makes sense as much as data to any organization. But I've been in places, and I did some loyalty for one of the leading supermarkets. Actually, a lot of them faded away, but they were sitting on a lot of data. We pushed them to analyze. They were not interested, and that's the problem probably with a lot of organizations around, because then it means nothing when you're just sitting on 50 GB data that could help you improve your process, understand your customers, but you're actually not. But I think a lot of currently banks and the telcos are actually making use of that. Actually, I think today morning I saw that Safaricom has been taken to court because of some 11.9 million customers' data being leaked out. And that's all about data analysis, because these are guys who bet. So they can,
was on spot the other day.
yes, Facebook has been for the last 2 years in that privacy issue. But because they could actually tell that when Mungai takes their Tala branch loan or wherever, they're actually using it to bet. No, that's analysis. So you can actually understand your customers better when you analyze that kind of data. And it goes deeper than that, because if I can give an example, in the US, even the way you see supermarkets arranging stuff, it's data analysis. So that they understand when Mungai comes for a beer, he will probably pick.
You had to use a beer.
He will probably pick. And so they bring them in. Yeah, so it's even the way that arrangement, which to the normal person looks like just an arrangement, it's actually it's actually thought out.
So is there like a particular course in data analysis if you want to pursue a course in this?
I wouldn't say there's a particular one. The only thing is, if you've done computer science, if you've done IT, you can probably measure in data science. That's one thing is what you can do. But even without measuring, I think that as long as you've done computer science or an IT related, it's something that someone can do. But in terms of measuring, yes, data science is picking up quite well. Something that guys can look into.
Great. Mungai, take us through software and application developers. So what is that? What does that entail?
Okay, just before we go to that, for the sake of our viewers, maybe analysis, the analysis bit is just to break it down. It's just grouping data or going through data, then grouping it into meaningful groups that help organizations make key decisions, like what customers to target, what are their interests, what are they doing when they come to shop with us, and things like that. Yes, because you might be saying analysis here, and English is a foreign language. I hear it came with a boat.
Maybe there's a businessman somewhere who's like, this is a good thing for my business, but
exactly.
That's making sense out of those.
Right.
Okay, so let's talk about software and application developers.
Right.
Yes, I understand. Also, these are people you work with a lot in the organization.
They are the core of our organization. These are people who basically write code that make meaningful applications that we sell to the market. And they are of various classifications. There are mobile application developers that are either Android or iOS. And then we have back-end application developers that is basically what a back-end is, what reads into the database to retrieve information for usability. It's basically the engine. And then we have middleware application developers. And so anyway, we have various types of application developers who use various languages depending on what is their intent or their final product that they want to use.
And what industry are they needed? Are they tied down to an industry?
No, because what they do is they automate processes. So in each and every industry that we have, they are needed there. But they just need to have skill to be able to automate these processes. So jobs for application developers are there, but you just have to be good at it. Because we have different levels of developers. We have developers who you will explain a concept and the next day you have an application. We have developers who you will sit with for a week and still you won't have a product. You have developers who will tell you, tomorrow I will deliver, and you'll have your application. But you have developers who will sit with 6 months and still have no product.
The other jobs I want us to analyze is e-commerce and social media specialists. And maybe Evans, you could take us through that. And e-commerce.
E-commerce, I would still think, I'm still betting against e-commerce in this market. Eventually it might pick up. I think they're still far from that, because I think the only successful player around is Jumia. I'm not sure there is any that scale. There are a lot of others.
I saw it at launch. I haven't seen it.
But probably Masoko, because of who is behind them, obviously. So they
Jumia is doing a great job.
Jumia is the one doing a great job in that. So I still think that it's very young. Where we come in is where we power the payments to enable you pay for those products cashlessly. It could be through your card, through your phone, but still they still depend on cash on delivery. I think majority of them still depend on that. But when it picks up, then it means that e-commerce comes with a lot of jobs. Because if you look at the likes of Amazon, Alibaba, that's where they're employing a lot of AI, then when it picks up, it creates a lot of jobs. Because as much as people are saying that the physical stores are being closed, the jobs that come behind the scenes because of this automation is also equally huge.
And I agree with you on that. There was actually a report the other day that said e-commerce platforms will create 30 million jobs by 2025. And these jobs are spread across even riders, people who now...
Warehousing,
Exactly.
the warehousing. You could have a look at, probably guys could have a look at what Alibaba specifically is doing on their warehouses. Lots of automation, but also creating a lot of jobs around it. Yes.
Oh, great. And what about information security analysts? Is that the same thing as the data? Or these are the guys who ensure that data is secure?
Well, I think it's a bit different. It's all about making sure that the data that these analysts are analyzing is secure or is stored. First of all, it's captured in a secure way, it's stored in a secure way, and during retrieval, then it is processed in a secure way.
That's probably that's very relevant in Kenya. Because if anyone who follows payments knows that last year was a bad one for Kenya, very bad actually. A lot of circles and banks were actually breached. So that's something that's very practical right now in our country is cybersecurity and having enough firms and professionals that can prevent, because the hackers are always trying to get new ways of trying to. So I think that's practical something that if someone had that skill set today, then in Kenya it's a very relevant one today.
Yeah, like actually the other day, speaking of breaching, there's this guy who hacks the Huduma number system.
Yes.
You remember? And actually, even I think 2 weeks ago, or was it last week, most of the government websites were also
remember,
hacked.
there's a guy, I think, was a guy from Europe or something? Yeah, I think there's a guy who claimed, but we were all government, majority, let's say, were brought down. So
actually, I've never understood. I know it's not really relevant here, but it's important. It's one thing I've always wondered: where do hackers gain their pleasure? Because they don't do much other than just.
It depends. We have different types of hackers. There are those who do it for fun. Technology is fun, by the way. And sometimes the only way I can prove to myself that I'm really good at this is actually trying to breach someone else. And that's why also even ethical hacking is actually being taught in university nowadays. What ethical hackers do is just bring you down to show that you can be breached. But ethically, that's why it's called ethical breaching. But a lot of hackers around the world don't do it for, some do it for monetary value, but majority of them are not doing it for monetary value. They're just probably practicing what they, I think it's fun to a lot of them. Yeah, but we also have a lot of hackers who probably try to gain financial gain out of it.
The last jobs I want us to discuss, which are also in demand in 2019 and beyond, is blockchain specialist. So I'd like us to have a conversation on blockchain. I mean, this is something that everyone is speaking about and they're saying it's the next big thing. So let's discuss that shortly after the break.